standing for the church, laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture.
This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
And we welcome you to New York City, the belly of the news-making beast, if you will, every single day at the same time for AFA Today. It is the broadcast both on television and on radio that is dedicated to keeping you informed here in the middle of the day as to what is going on in your world, and particularly if you're a person of values and faith, why it matters to you. And if you're just listening to the top of the hour news feed, you may have noticed that in Virginia, we've got another rogue politician deciding, this time an attorney general, deciding that he's just going to step out and begin to say what's constitutional and what's not, even though he's not a sitting justice, even though he's, just one person of the state of Virginia. He feels like he has the right to tell everyone else what that is. Is this on the increase or on the decrease? Well, if you've paid attention over the last number of months, you see more and more overreaches by people in government all over the place. And it's one of the reasons why so many of us have consistently said in the last 10, 12, 24, 36 months that the solutions that we have been talking about for a couple of decades are missing the mark. That the solutions trying to be found in a partisan political contest exclusively is far off base. I'm Kevin McCullough. Thanks for being with us. Our phone number, 888-589-8840. What do you mean, Kev? Well, there's this idea that if you only elect the people that say the right things, then you will fix the problem. I think yesterday's March for Life in Washington, D.C. demonstrated that after 41 years of trying to elect pro-life individuals at different points in time is no guarantee that they will stay pro-life. Arlen Specter was for protecting unborn children until it was politically convenient for him to be against it, as one of the former senior senators from Pennsylvania. His colleague in the Senate was bounced from his Senate seat, Rick Santorum, simply for endorsing Mr. Specter in a re-election bid. There are many different complications that get into the political arena, and so while I am not an advocate of abandoning the political arena, and I've never argued for that, and there are those that do, I have always thought that particularly for people of faith, there has to be a different approach to solving the problem. And if you've been listening to this broadcast since the beginning of this year, and my very good friend, Pastor Jim Cymbala of Brooklyn Tabernacle, coming to us at the beginning of this year, talking to us about the importance of prayer, talking to us about the need for prayer, inspiring us to be on our knees weekly, united in what we're trying to facilitate here is a simple prayer focus that you can grab onto, latch onto, adopt, and own for the week of that 7-day period, so that we are banding together as warriors in prayer, seeking the God who has the answers to all of the problems makes a lot more sense than trying to solve the problems on our own, does it not? Well, this is just some of what we've started to latch onto and to tell you, that we believe the real solution, while it involves political process, while it involves stewardship of the responsibility we have as citizen governors, that as we are Caesar, in essence, in this world, then we are to render just governing power as we do that. So as we send people to Washington, as we send people to state capitals, to city halls, etc., there is a need to do so responsibly and in accord to the values that we say we espouse. But aside from that, there is a need that runs deeper than any have previously suggested, that this be inherently a spiritual revival for America first. And until we begin to grow different people, we will not create a different culture. How many times have I said that on the air in the last year? Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. Your thoughts at 888-589-8840. Now, someone who has echoed all of this is involved in both the political arena and the process, and I'm going to talk to him about some of the things we have to look forward to in the next couple of years. But it's also someone who shares our commitment to understanding that if we are not on our knees before God, laboring before God, at least to the degree that we complain or that we worry, then we have no right to expect God to move. Let me say that again. If we do not labor in prayer, at least equal to the amount of anxiety that we express or the anger that we communicate about the culture as it is, then we have no right to expect God to move. In other words, said a different way, we have no right to expect God to solve the problem until we're at least ready to labor in prayer before Him to the same degree that we get angry or anxious about the problem. My guest is Bob Vander. He's the leader of the Family Leader out of Iowa, the Midwest's most influential and most important family values organization, and is keenly located in the important state of Iowa. And Bob, it's good to have you back with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time in this cold polar vortex to join us from the offices of the Family Leader. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate being with you, Kevin, and it is warm in our offices, although outside in the state of Iowa right now, I think we are around 25 below wind chill. So we're glad to be inside with you, and I just thank you for that introduction. It was very well said, and I know this audience readily embraces those words.
Well, and I want us to understand that this is not something, and I don't know that you and I have spoken about this since the beginning of the year, but when Pastor Symbol and I sat down at the end of 2013 for just a couple of days, and we poured our heart out before God, and we said, Lord, if you're going to work in the city that we live in the New York City area, if you're going to work in our nation, if you're going to work in the communities and the families that we are asking for change in, let that change start with us. And it brings me to the theme of a book that you've just published called If 714, an urgent call to prayer, an urgent call for revival, rather, it's time. But the book titled If 714. And Bob, as someone who has run for governor in your state, as someone who is involved in every election cycle, I would imagine the temptation for you is even greater than the average person to think that politics may be the solution to America's problem. What brought you to the understanding that politics isn't ultimately the solution to the problem?
Well, first of all, maybe it's because I've been in the political arena long enough to understand that anytime we put our faith or our hope into a candidate person, into a political party, we will always be disappointed. And, Kevin, what happened is, and you know this, we hold a leadership summit every year. And it's well attended, a host of media turn out to cover it. And in 2012, we had this leadership summit. It was sold out. And we had spiritual leaders like the Reverend Lawrence White, Joel Rosenberg, and others. But we also had political leaders like Governor Rick Perry and Governor Mike Huckabee and Senator Rick Santorum speak. And we thought in 2012, August of 2012, that the entire focus, the entire message would be, this is the most important election of our lifetime. We have to defeat Obama. We have to win these governorships. We have to win these legislative races in order for this country to right itself. But message after message kept coming back to the need for spiritual revival, an awakening, a revival, a reformation, a restoration. And they used a variety of words, but it was always about revival. As a matter of fact, Governor Mike Huckabee said ultimately the issues that we face and the solutions to those issues are not political, but they are spiritual in nature. And so our board and myself, we said, there's something going on here. We've heard this verse, 2 Chronicles 7:14, many times. It's been often quoted about the need for our country to be revived and the process for that to happen, but we haven't been authentic about it. And God starts off that word with the word if, and that if is a powerful two-letter word that I mean, it prompts a decision. Are we going to do this or aren't we going to do this? And we thought it's about time we get authentic as believers in Jesus Christ. If we really want revival in our land, revival's not outside in, it's inside out. It begins with you and it begins with me, just like you and Reverend Simbala discussed on this radio program.
Yeah. And, friend, I got to tell you, it's not a coincidence that God is working in the hearts of these leaders in different areas of the country. It's not just mere coincidence or chance that that people from different walks of life and different expertise levels of different areas of life are coming together around this idea. I honestly believe, Bob Vander Plaats, that what we are looking at here is what I hope and pray is a deliberate call by God to his people to be more greatly dependent upon him in every area of their life, including the surrender of the things that they don't want to surrender to him, but also the areas that they have no control over. And we've come face to face with that reality, Bob, in the last 6 years. We've seen an economy that has chewed people up and spit them out. And just when they thought they had a chance to get back into the game, spit them out again. I mean, we've lived in fairly brutal circumstances over the last 6 years, and the problem is not inherently Barack Obama. He may guide policy that allows for certain realities to come about, but what I think I'm hearing you say, and what I know I'm saying, is that the issue has to start with people of faith wholly depending upon the God who made them, and then as he has control of us, we will see him take control of our country.
Without question, and we're in heart, Kevin. And remember, when you read the book, If 714, the first thing that you find out is that if you're looking to blame all the problems of this country on the Democrat Party or on your opposition or Barack Obama or somebody else that doesn't agree with your way of thinking, that's misled. Because what God is saying in that verse, he's saying, if my people who are called by my name. I mean, he's looking for you, for me, for Pastor Simbala, and for a lot of the listeners on this show who are believers in Jesus Christ. He's looking for us to humble ourselves, to seek his face, and to turn from our wicked ways, our lust, our greed, our indifference, whatever it might be. He's looking for us to turn. Then he says, then I'll hear your prayer. Then he says, I'll forgive your sin. And then he says, I'll heal your land. And we know that this verse was not intended for the United States of America. We're not Israel. However, this gives us a glimpse into God's heart on revival. And Kevin, you mentioned just earlier, I believe God is in full pursuit of us, his people, to turn back to him individually and collectively, because I think he wants to bless us. And I'm just thankful that he's still pursuing us.
Well, friend, I can't tell you strongly enough how much I concur with everything that Bob is saying. The book, a very attractive book, and a very quick read. It is less than 200 pages, and you can get through this fairly quickly, about 140 pages. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is twofold. If this resonates, what Bob Vander Plaats is saying about 2 Chronicles 7:14, there's an entire strategy that they have launched in terms of the time, notating 7:14 a.m. and p.m. I'll have him explain that in a second. You can literally join thousands of other Christians praying at specific times that I think God will bless. And if you want to have some focus to those prayers, if you go to pray2014.com and just request the prayer focus that we are discussing each week here on the air. We announce it on Monday. We pray together through the week surrounding that focus. Then please do that as well. Pray2014.com to do that. And thefamilyleader.org if you want a copy of Bob Vander Plaats' book. Bob, when we come back, there's a lot of importance to the races that are going to be coming to Iowa, and there's some news about people that may be in the race.
Another American